anyone that is launching a business, anyone that has their own business, even if you're established, if you don't get your head around sales and selling, you are never going to grow.
Hey there, curious minds. Have you ever wondered what makes startups successful? Tune in as we chat with the brightest minds in entrepreneurship. This is Vision Investors Podcast. Hi, Kate. Hello. Welcome to Vision Investors Podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you're doing at the moment and how you came about on this journey.
So I started working about 23 years ago. I did a Bachelor of Business in Marketing. I was not a high achiever at uni. I literally was that person that was trying to juggle everything and a part-time job and family responsibilities. And for me, really, it was just about passing and getting my degree. And my early career was in marketing, but I pretty quickly moved into sales. And it's just been a ride so far, to be honest with you. So I worked in corporate for 17 years and then started my own business about 6 years ago. And as I said, everyone, best thing I ever did.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about this business. What inspired you and what is it?
Yeah. So like I said, I have a background in sales and marketing. And I loved working in the corporate world and managing teams and things like that. But I found I was starting to get really bored. I wasn't learning anything new. I was teaching people a lot of stuff, but I wasn't actually learning anything myself. And it was sort of a little monotonous. So changing jobs gave me new content and things to work with. So I didn't know what I wanted to do for a business. I just knew I always wanted to work for myself. At the first business, I've got two, but I'll talk about how the whole journey started into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
The first business I started actually came from an inspiration from traveling. My sister lives overseas. She's been overseas for 13 years. We're very close. So I travel to see her every year. And I used to fly business class whenever I went to see her because, I was on a corporate budget. I've got money.
Nice. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. One year we went to New York with one of my best friends and she thought the business class was a terrible waste of money. And so we flew economy. And so I said, let's see how we can make this more comfortable. And this idea came up of creating these amazing travel packs. And so I started playing around with that idea when I got home. I had a 3-month notice period in my corporate job, gave my notice and was like, this is what I'm going to do and see what I can make of this business. So the original business, Cloud9, was around gifting and really specializing in travel packs as sort of an initial concept. So that's how it all started.
Oh, nice. Okay. So did you go into this business venture all by yourself? Like, how was it like at the beginning?
In the very beginning, actually, and still to this day, my sister is a part of the business. So really a lot of the early stuff was about workshopping it with her.
Oh, yeah.
Even when the first year of the business was really, so the first year out of corporate was really about doing a lot of R&D and really trying to refine what the concept was going to be, what the products were. We launched a Shopify store. So the plan from the beginning was to sell B2C. And directly to the customers and set that store up and work out what products and learning about e-commerce because it's not something I knew a lot about. And Shopify was sort of fairly new back then. And so it was really bouncing ideas off my sister. But really for me, I was working on it full time. She had her own business and I was the one funding everything as well. So yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah, so it was all self-funded. How did you find that? Like, because I think you mentioned it was quite early, it was like 2018, but like something drastic happened quite soon after that, didn't it?
Yeah, so it started with I had bought 2 investment properties when I was working in corporate. Back then, I would make people cry if I told you the interest rates that I got on the properties and also how little I actually needed to put in to get those properties. So it was a very small investment on my side. They were small houses, but it was a great step into the property market. And I sold both of those properties in 2017 to fund the business. So that's how we were funded. For the first 2 years, I didn't take a salary. Put a lot of money into the business to pay for everything that we're doing. And being a product-based business, And this was one of my learnings. It's very resource heavy because you have to buy everything and work on the assumption that you know what people are going to want to buy. Otherwise, you're going to be left holding stock. So
Yeah.
it was terrifying. But at the same time, my view on it was that the properties were an investment into my future. And it was a way that I was using my money to generate more. And really the way that I saw it was this business was going to be my future. And this was me just changing how I was investing my business and putting that money into Cloud9 to really give it the best chance. So, and I couldn't afford to pay myself. The business wasn't generating money for the first year, so I was living off savings at the same time. So it was a little bit scary, but at no point did it feel like that. I mean, I look back now, it's almost scarier looking back now, but at the time I was like, I have this so under control. And like you said, 2019, we really started hitting our stride. We started picking up a lot of corporate clients, which I wasn't really expecting. But B2B sales is much more my background. I'm much more comfortable selling B2B than B2C. And it was much easier to sell 100 or 200 gifts to one corporate client for an event than it was to sell 200 individual gifts, ship them out, the amount of customer service that's involved with doing that. So it is a much better, much more economical style of selling. And we were sort of doing really well. We exhibited at our first trade show in February 2020. I literally picked up an entire year's worth of orders from all of these huge businesses, hotels, event managers for like financial services companies, tech companies. They're like, we've never seen anything like this before. And then in March 2020, lost every single order.
Oh my
And
God.
lost a lot of the contacts that I'd spent 2 years building, because a lot of those women in events, most of them were women in event and travel, a lot of jobs because of COVID. So we really went back to square one in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that's amazing, because how did you find that courage? I mean, of course, we don't know what will ever happen in the future. You can't foresee, a year down the track, oh, COVID's going to hit, and then, a whole, year or two's work might, go not down the drain, but it's a lot of hard work, that's lost, I guess. But how did you have that courage? Because, you mentioned, looking back now, it wasn't that hard anymore. It's not that hard anymore. You've learned the lessons and you've overcome the challenges. But when you're down in the deep end, and how did you find the courage to even move your investment to this business?
I think to me, it's about backing your concept. If you're confident in the idea that you've come up with, you have to throw everything at it. You can't go into a business half convinced of what you're doing, because you will hit so many hurdles. It is really tough to get a business off the ground. And so if you don't have that conviction in what you're doing, you're not going to convince someone else to buy your products and services, because you're not even convinced yourself. So I think it's about having that conviction in what you're doing and really doing the background work to make sure you have a solid business to get off the ground. And for me in 2020, I didn't have any choice but to make this work. I had invested so much money. I'd given up hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in a corporate salary, times that by 2 years by that point. I'd invested a lot of money. There was a lot of money at stake at that point. So it was just sheer determination to go, I am going to need to pivot. People are not doing travel and event gifts. The concept of the business still stands. And actually, some of the changes that I made in 2020 have actually made the business so much stronger now. And we've changed the concept a bit of what it is. It's actually a much better business than it was in 2018 anyway. I just had 2 horrible years that I had to get through that to sort of come to fruition. And that just took determination, a lot of determination. Sometimes I look back at some of the concepts and some of the ideas I tried to get off the ground in 2020 and think, I must have been mad. I mean, there's such bad ideas, but it's that where you've got to try stuff. You don't know what's going to land. There's a slight desperation at that point as the world seems to be imploding in 2020. But it's really about being creative and thinking laterally. And one of the key parts of it was looking at what was going on in the market and seeing where there was demand for something where people were spending money. Because you can have the greatest idea in the world. If people aren't spending money on that at the moment, then you're never going to succeed. And it's like that now. The cost of living crisis is real. It is such a real thing.
Yeah.
And even for me, the types of people that I'm working with at the moment are very different to the people I was working with 6, 12, 18 months ago, because the landscape's changed. And so you have to be super in tune with what's going on and make those changes in your business if you actually want to succeed and grow, and to get through some of those tricky patches that can often be out of your control. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, like our podcast is called Vision Investors. Like we're not just talking about investors who have the experience, who have the expertise, who have got, the company backup, but we're also talking about people who invest in their visions, like yourself. You invested in your visions, and it took confidence, it took determination, and, you needed a really well-planned roadmap and adapted to the landscape. And did it ever occur to you, like, throughout this journey, to also seek funding or other people to partner up with?
to be honest, it wasn't something I'd thought about, but we were super fortunate about a year into Cloud9. So it was at the end of 2018. A friend of mine had bought a bunch of our travel packs when we were still focused on travel, and took them overseas on a family holiday and gifted them to all of her family. And her dad, who happens to be an extraordinary philanthropist and also an investor, said, "This is an amazing concept. I think it's got legs." I used to work with this girl, so she knew my style of working, my work ethic, all of that sort of thing. And he said, "I want to have a conversation about investing in her business." So I was totally blown away, because it's not something I was even considering, but he's an extraordinary human. So it took a couple of months to organise the meeting because he lives interstate. He was in Sydney doing business. At one point, we met up just over breakfast, had the most inspirational conversation. He gave me some advice that is still some of the top couple of pieces of advice that I follow in my business today. He's become an extraordinary mentor. And within about 6 months, we had to do some financials and work through some stuff. And it's not anything I'd ever done before. So it was a massive learning curve for me. And he ended up investing in the business and has a 25% share of the business. It also meant that during COVID, he became an extraordinary support. And actually, I don't know that we would have survived that period actually without him, because it was someone that was as invested in the business as I was. And not just financially, but he was emotionally invested as well. He's got an incredible network. So, if you get an investor, my advice is don't just look for someone that's got some money to give you. There are other things that are just as important, if not more important, because the hardest thing when you start a business is building your brand and getting people to find out about your products and getting customers. So if someone's got a great network that they can introduce you to, it's invaluable. So that's something he was able to do. He was able to give me great business advice on running a business, cash flow, employees, all of that kind of stuff. He was able to give me access to his network, and then financially he contributed as well. So, he was like the gold star of investors that I was able to find. So it was very, very fortunate.
Wow. So it's like it's not like you went to him at the beginning of your idea, and then or you said, "Oh yeah, I have this plan for this business, and this is my roadmap and my strategy." It's more like you already had something built, and it's very tangible, and it's a lot of value. And he also experienced it. He had it, physically in his hand. So he knew, what he wanted. I mean, what he could see, like the future of this business as well, right?
Yeah, but we were still very early stages when he came on board, and we were still really in R&D phase at that point. So I did have to communicate the vision to him of where we were going to go, what the growth opportunities were, how we were going to expand the range. They were all conversations that we had to have over time. So, and my mentor, I've got an extraordinary mentor. My mentor actually said to me, he's investing in you at the moment. He believes in your product, but his investment is in you as an individual, because if you don't deliver on that, you don't have a whole team behind you. So he's putting a lot of faith in you, and he thinks you're great. So that was a really important, it was a huge confidence boost as well. And it also gave me some really good verification that I was on the right track with the concept of what we we're coming up with and what I was trying to build as well. So it sort of worked on a lot of different levels that we had to do that. But I did have to go through that process of sort of justifying the amount of money that I was asking for and giving him the confidence in how I was going to invest it and how we're going to use it wisely to grow the business.
Yeah, that's true. I actually heard somewhere that, when investors or these angel, well, let's say angel investors, for example, like there's a reason why they're called angels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My mentor said to me, "You've basically found a unicorn," and he said, "This is amazing that so early in your business you've got someone that has got this level of confidence and vision in terms of what you're going to do." And the fact that he was such an extraordinary human being anyway. He's a huge philanthropist as well. So, having someone that is such a good human on my side has been invaluable.
Yeah, I want to touch down onto like some other things, maybe for instance, the personality and maybe some skill sets or
Yeah.
other factors that you think might have been in place. Because like for people to, partner up with us, yes, you might have a vision. It's probably written down on paper, but it's not something tangible or you can't tell yet. So really, a lot of it is based on you, like this person, what you're offering on the table. So
Yeah.
are there any advices or any tips from your journey personally that you can share to our listeners?
Yeah, I would say so. When I was going through that period through COVID and getting the gift business through that, it was actually exhausting. And so in mid 2021, I'd been doing the odd bit of consulting work since I'd left the corporate world. But I really needed a second revenue stream. There was so much pressure on the gift business and it was actually exhausting me. I was finding I wasn't as inspired because I was just tired. I'd spent 18 months trying to keep this business afloat. So I thought I'll just do a bit of consulting work. I worked with a coach, actually. It was in the 4-month lockdown that Sydney had. I worked with her. She was in Sydney, but we we're both online, and worked with her on getting that business off the ground. And what was meant to be just a small supplementary income has now become 90% of the revenue that I earn through that business.
Oh.
And the reason that business is working so well is because I am not afraid to put myself in front of anyone and pitch my business. I leave no stone unturned when it comes to generating new business and growing the business. And what I do is my background is in sales. So I have got 2 programs, and one of those is around value-based sales. And I work with so many small business owners, and everyone comes to me saying, I need more customers. I need more customers. I want to grow. It's what everyone wants in business. Big, large, small, solo, entrepreneurs, whatever you are, everyone wants to grow. The key is how to do that. And I say to anyone that is launching a business, anyone that has their own business, even if you're established, if you don't get your head around sales and selling, you are never going to grow because your network is finite. You can only talk to the people you know for so long. At some point, you are going to have to speak to strangers. You're going to have to pitch to strangers. You're going to have to get comfortable with doing that. That is how you get growth. And really, I think if you're passionate and you believe in what you're doing, it's so much easier to sell your products and services because it's just a conversation. You don't feel like you're pitching something. And the other key that I say to people, you need to be solving a problem. So whatever the product or service is that you're selling, you need to know exactly what problem you are solving in the market. And then all you need to do is explain your solution to people and show how you're solving their problem. That to me is the key to sales, because if you're just there telling someone about that, they're like, that's totally irrelevant. I have no interest in that. You'll get a lot of rejection. Rejection's tough for anyone to handle. I mean, I'm so used to it having a sales background. It's what happens in sales, but you have to cast a wide net, and eventually you get those leads coming through, and then you work them through the funnel, and then you turn them into sales. But you have to learn how to communicate, how to articulate what it is that your business is offering, what the value is that you're offering, the benefits of working with you. That to me is one of the keys. And that takes confidence. You need to be articulate. You need to be good at public speaking. You need to be good at thinking on the spot. When you're in a pitch meeting, people can throw you curveballs. Someone can be in a terrible mood. I've had some awful meetings with people.
Yeah.
And I just have to remember, this is not me. They're having a bad day, or this person's just maybe not very nice, or I've actually totally misread this. They have no use for my products or services. So just wind the meeting up and get out of there as soon as possible. But you need to practice doing that, because no one likes doing it really, but you'll become good at it if you do it enough. So I think that is one of the most important skills that you can learn as a business owner.
Yeah. It's a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It was a long list just then. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
How many people can tick all the boxes?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to that sales pitch. If you can nail that and you can articulate and do the work on getting that right, I spend weeks with clients getting that right. The number of people that I work with that can't actually articulate what makes their business unique. And I'm like, if you can't even tell me what's unique about your business, how are you going to communicate that to a potential customer? So that's where you really need to do that work before you go out into the market and make sure you've got that stuff clear. And it's a good sense check to go, is my business even on the right track? Or have I just created something that I've already got 100 competitors for, and nothing is going to make me stand out? Because it is going to be really tough for you to then generate any sales. You have to find those things that make you unique.
So what are some golden rules? Do you have any golden rules that you play by when you advise the people that come to you, asking, Kate, help me build my business? I need to work on all these skill sets, but what about, what else do you tell her? What else do you tell them?
Yeah, I would say that there's a couple of key things that I would look at. One of the most important thing is you need to be organized. If you're running your own business, whether that's the first job you've had or whether you've worked in a corporate job or worked for someone else first, you have to have discipline. And if you don't have discipline, things just go pear-shaped very quickly. There's no structure to your day. There's no plan that you're following. There's no goals to hit at the end of the week. So a lot of the work that I do when I'm coaching people is we set a 4-week goal. And then each week we set actions that person needs to achieve by the end of that week that are going to help achieve that 4-week goal. And it just breaks it down into manageable bite-sized pieces. So if it is that, you want to increase your revenue by X amount, you need to look at it and go, what are some actions I can take this week to help me achieve that goal? So it might be going to a networking event. It might be reaching out to people in your network. It might be creating a new product. Whatever it is that you need to do, you break those down, because otherwise it becomes really overwhelming for people. They're like, I've got this huge goal. I don't know how to do it on my own. Most people are funding themselves, or they don't have a lot of money to spend. So that's one of the really important things. I think have that discipline, have those goals, have a plan. Equally, you have to adapt your plan when things aren't working.
Yes.
There's no point being stubborn and just sticking with what's going on. My example being 2020, I had no choice, but we had to start pivoting and coming up with creative ideas. And the fortunate thing is often when you try different things, you'll find a better way of working anyway. So I totally changed my business model. And from a cash flow point of view, my business is 50 times better off now than it was back then. So positive changes can come from doing that. And you need to recognize the difference between my marketing or my sales isn't working and I need to change that, or actually my business concept isn't working and I need to change that. And that takes some time to work out the difference between those things. So like I said, I think having that discipline and structure. Another really important thing is having a good support network. Talking to your partner or talking to your friends, if they don't have their own business, they will not understand the challenges you are going through and the stress that you're facing and how challenging it is. So I'm really fortunate. A lot of my best friends I met working in the corporate world, most of us now have our own businesses.
Oh, yeah.
It's very different when we have a girls' lunch now, the things that we talk about. So, someone's talking about challenges they're having with their staff. Someone else is having challenges with, not being able to find a good bookkeeper. Someone else is having challenges with, whatever those different things are. It's really nice to have people that truly understand the challenges you're going through. And being able to share, advice and tips and just keep each other buoyant, I think it's really important. The other thing is actually having a really strong business network. So not just having that support network, with people that understand, but my business network is one of my greatest assets. I actually do webinars on how to create and then leverage your business network. So for me, people come to me, people actually pay me to help facilitate business deals in my network. I had a client that I was working with. I worked a couple of hours a week with her, and literally I set up introductions for her through my network to help her grow her business. I was obviously very selective about who I introduced her to because I don't want to burn my network. So I needed to know that it was going to be a mutually beneficial meeting that I was teeing up, and both parties were going to gain something out of doing it. But that's how powerful your network can be. I reach out to my own network when I've got a new product or service that I'm launching. They're your cheerleaders. They will be the first people to help promote you, and they can introduce you to all sorts of people because they have their own networks as well. So I think having a really strong business network is a really important thing to help you grow.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you've been doing the both of the businesses by yourself?
Yes.
Or also probably with a partner, okay. But do you have a team that helps you run, the day-to-day operations?
I have 0 employees, which was one of the pieces of advice from my investor and mentor. And it simplifies my life. So it works for me. In my gift business, we create gifts en masse. So, it might be an order for 50, 100, 200 gifts. We still do a lot of events now. I have a casual team. And my team is made up, one of the women is a firefighter. So on her days off, because they do 3 days on, 3 days off, whatever she does, I've got a mum, I've got a uni student. They've all been with me for years. And when I've got an order coming in, I just call on them to do stuff. So they're casual, they invoice me. It's super simple. I've got an amazing bookkeeper that has been with me since 2018. And she knows me like the back of a hand. So we work so well together. We both live in Sydney, but I rarely see her. We do everything online, and I've got a really, really good accountant as well. And having a mentor, I think, is a really important thing as well. But I don't have any employees. I've thought about how I'll grow the business one day and whether that means that I'll need to bring a team in, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do in terms of what that structure will look like in sort of years to come. And ultimately, my goal is to sell the business, to sell both of the businesses. So at some point, I'm not doing that anytime soon because I love working in them, but at some point I will start looking at what that looks like, because you need to have an asset to sell, not just a database. It needs to be more than that. So it's really looking at taking myself out of the business, because at the moment I am the business, particularly in my consulting work. So it's looking at that sort of structure to go, how do you sell the content that's in that business? And let that still be valuable to someone. So that's a thought for down the track for me when I'm ready.
So thank you so much for sharing about your journey. And I actually particularly want to ask you, what has been your biggest takeaway from being someone that's working in the corporate world and then deciding to actually step out and become an entrepreneur herself and start building on your vision?
Sometimes I wish I started my own business sooner, but I recognize that I needed those 17 years of experience and knowledge, and the network that I built in that time to help me with the business. I love it more than anything. It is really, really hard. Like a lot of days, it is like you're constantly pitching for new business. It is relentless. Like it is something that you never stop doing, because clients come, clients go, people stay, people have quiet patches. It is a ride that you don't get off, but I have never been happier. I've never had better work-life balance. I've never actually been more relaxed. I love that I can go and do my grocery shopping at 2:00 on a Monday when it's quiet at the supermarket. I can go to the gym when it's quiet, but that's about having that discipline. So I think you have to be passionate. You have to be prepared to work really, really hard. But it is so satisfying, and there is just so much joy in doing it. And I think if you love what you're doing, which I do, it does make it a whole lot easier to get through those tricky patches.
Yeah, yeah. And, having gone down, this journey for at least, the last decade, do you have any advice to share to maybe your younger self or other aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
My advice is back yourself. I think that's the number one piece of advice I can give people. I have people come to me all the time saying, can you teach me how to be confident? And I can't teach confidence, but I can teach the skills that people are lacking that aren't making them confident. So I think if you've got a business idea, if you don't feel confident about it, work out which parts of it you don't feel confident about, fix those areas up, and then back yourself when you go to launch the business. Because like I said, you're going to lead with passion. People are going to buy into a dream initially. You won't have a lot of customers. You won't have a lot of testimonials. There's sort of a leap of faith that people will take to be a customer in the early sort of 6 or 12 months of your business. So people will buy into your passion. People will buy into your energy as well. So I think they're the things that you need to have to get it off the ground. And like I said, be prepared to work really, really hard in the beginning, and the rewards will follow. I guarantee the rewards will follow.
Thank you so much, Kate.
My pleasure.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming up onto our show today. And hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.